Hello, welcome to the Writing Gals. We are so excited tonight to be doing another question and answer session. We enjoy doing them a lot. We like to come with specific topics sometimes, and then sometimes, things just don't work out that way. And so it's a great chance for us to hear from you guys about what you are, wanting to get more information on, or a lot of questions we have tonight is just like what's new, what's different for the 2020 year. So we're going to dig into those in just a minute. But first, we're going to touch base with everybody. And we're going to start with Victorine tonight.
Yay. Well, thank you. I have been busy working on the Nebraska Writers Guild Conference the past couple of days. And we finally got our schedule published up on the Nebraska Writers Guild website. Super excited about this because all 4 of the writing gals are going to be there. And Elena Johnson is coming, and she's going to be our keynote. And we're so happy that she's coming. She's an awesome keynote speaker. And she's also teaching a class about cover copy because she has a book, like Killer Cover Copy. And so she's going to teach a whole class on that and be on a panel with the writing gals talking about publishing. It's just going to be amazing. So I'm super excited about that. That's in April in Omaha, Nebraska. If you want to know more about it, I have a link in our Facebook group, the Writing Gals Facebook group, where you can join the group specifically for learning all about the Nebraska Writers Guild Conference.
Yeah. We always have so much fun when we get together with her.
Oh, we do.
And then it's a great conference too. I've only been the 1 year last year, but had so much fun. I'm excited to go back. All right, Judy, you look like you're ready to go. So tell us what you're going
on. So I've been I've been trying to minimize my house this last week and fix up my office a little better, but not writing a whole lot. But I did start my first chapter finally in the book that I'm writing, and I'm learning all kinds of new things that I didn't know about my characters, and so that's been a lot of fun. Just giving me more ideas for conflicts that might come up later on, and so I'm hoping that I can, now that my office is a little more where I can concentrate, I'm hoping I can finish the book quickly because it's been a while since I've published and I need to get another book out. So
yeah, I'm feeling that way too. All right, Amy, what do you got cooking?
Well, I'm gonna try and raise my computer up so I'm not being completely engulfed by our logo. So
I know it's like right across your forehead.
Yes. Okay. I am today was full of getting tax stuff together, so that's always fun to do. And then let's see here. I finished a book with one of my co-writers, and I'm halfway through a book with my other co-writer, and planning a photo shoot for the one series, and trying to get started on the YA collaboration for my publishing house, and then some of my own books. So like a lot of everything. And then I started a pre-made cover group because I am crazy, I think, or I don't know. It's fun. I love it. But yeah. So I'm doing like everything all the time. And my husband, my poor daughter, she's learned to like come over and she like grabs my hand to like pull it away from the computer because that's where I'm always at. So I feel so bad, sort of, because I'm like, my whole goal was not to be busy in 2020. And we're like 2 weeks in, 3 weeks in, and I am like way busy. But you know what? My goal was also to lose weight in 2020. And with doing all the covers and all the things that I'm doing, I forget to eat. So I'm just substituting one goal for another.
Yeah. Well, 2019 was about Victorine learning to say no to people. Mm-hmm. And 2020 might be Amy's turn learning to say no to herself sometimes.
Yeah. Yes. But you know what? I think now I have exhausted everything. Like, I don't think I'm not an editor. I do not want to proof books. Like, none of that. No. So, and I don't want to publish
other, like,
no. No.
We'll see.
If I say I did that, assume I've been kidnapped. That will be like my code word on Facebook will be, I started an editing group. And then you're all like, something's wrong with Amy. You need to go find her. Then we're also planning like our Writing Gals conference and our Writing Gals book that we're
Mhm.
having to push out just a little bit because we're still trying to figure out how to write with 4 of us.
Yeah.
So there's lots of stuff going on. Like I'm always doing something.
Yep. We've been knee deep in our class schedule for our writing conference, and hopefully we'll have that finalized. I'm hoping by the end of January.
Yes.
And
I
then we
had
can
someone message me asking me when they're going to be able to sign up and when they're going to know more information. And I was like, it's forthcoming very soon.
We've been saying
Very
that.
soon.
Yeah. So we had to give Victory some space because she's been so busy with the Nebraska Writing Guild conference that we couldn't make her be working on 2 conferences at the same time.
Mhm.
So
But we've been working hard getting teachers lined up,
mhm.
teachers being asked,
Yeah.
class planned. So
Yeah. So one interesting thing that we've decided about our conference, which it might be kind of fun to talk about here, is that people wanted to come to the Writing Gals conference. So we wanted to make sure that the 4 of us were teaching as many classes as we could so that you guys are able to come in, and the kinds of things we talk about here on the podcast, we're going to be talking about in even more depth in our classes individually, with, all the really cool stuff you can do in a class. So it's going to be like our awesome podcast times like 100, right?
Yeah.
Plus we'll be right there with you and you can ask questions live just like you can here. And people are already starting to ask questions, but you'll be right there at the conference. So I hope everybody's just super excited about that. But we're going to have some great teachers coming to help us out. And we're going to have a lot of classes that you are not going to want to miss. As for what I'm doing this week, I have been getting ready to go on a trip with my family, which I'm excited about the trip. It's just the traveling makes the writing thing not easy. And I'm loving my new book. I'm starting a new series and I'm trying something a little bit different that I've, going back to the humor thing. And I'm really hoping it's going to be as awesome as I think it is. But it's really awesome when you want to write the story, when you're just excited, that stage where it's like new love. You've got all the fluttery emotions and the excitement, and that's all consuming. I'm there with this story. And so that's always an exciting place to be. So my cords are making a lot of noise, and I'm trying to figure out
who's that?
it's me, and I'm trying to figure out how to arrange everything tonight. Okay, so we're going to get started with the questions that people have been asking. And so I'm going to see if I can pull that back up again because I did not have, I'm totally not prepared tonight. So I don't know that we'll ask all the questions. I don't think we want this to go super, super long, but, and some of them I might summarize, but April Saunders Anderton wants to know if she should change the covers in her first series to better reflect the market, or if she should just keep moving forward.
So I read her question, and for me personally, I want to give my books the best possible chance to sell. And if I feel like they're underperforming, I'm going to do everything possible to push them up. So my answer would be, yes, go ahead and recover. If you feel like they are underperforming and a better cover or a cover more geared toward that market would do better, I would do that because you're going to make up that cost in sales. That's my answer.
Yeah, and you actually just did that this week with
I
one of your own
did.
series,
I just
so-
did that, and they're selling better.
Yeah.
So I say go for it.
Perfect. Anybody else? We're just gonna.
Yeah,
That
I
opens
agree.
I would say,
Go ahead, Amy.
trust your
Anne
oh my
Marie.
gosh, Siri's back up again. I would say you basically already know what you want to do because you wouldn't have asked that question if you didn't suspect something was wrong. And so normally the people I worry about are the people who are like, we look at their covers, or they get other people who say, you need to change your covers. And then they're like, well, do you guys think I should change my covers? I don't think I should change my covers. So I would say, since you already feel that that is not where it should be, or that cover is wrong, then change it. Trust your gut. You know your stories. You know where they'll fit in the market better than anybody. So, you know, sometimes you just need permission, someone to give you permission. So the writing gals give you permission to change your covers.
And what's interesting is it doesn't have to be a forever thing. Like if you try something and it doesn't work out, you can always put your old ones back on again, you know, because sometimes it just takes experimentation. And luckily we're able to do that. Easy peasy. Okay. So the next question is something that I think we all kind of wanted to discuss on our group anyway, a little bit. Dylan Crush wants to know what trends are up and coming markets are you seeing opening up in indie romance? So we've all kind of learned our lesson about us predicting trends here with the Writing Gals. Either we create the trends. No, I don't know if we created one. We've
Encourage.
We have it blow up. Yeah.
We've encouraged a massive boom.
Yes.
And oversaturation. But the real point is like we don't want to be calling the shots because we could be wrong, and we don't want people to be making choices based on what, you know, we say. What we do want to encourage everybody to do is learn how to go and figure it out for yourself. So it's kind of like the whole give someone a fish and they eat for a day, or teach them to fish and they eat for the rest of their lives kind of thing. Yeah. So we have done podcasts already on this topic on how to find what's selling within your genre and your categories. So I would recommend going and finding those podcasts and really getting into it. But basically, you're all going to have to do your homework. For one thing, there's so many different subcategories and so many different genres within our group and our listening audience that, you know, we can't go in and just say, oh, this is what's selling broadly across this. Also, there are professionals out there that are providing a lot of that information. We always like to recommend Alex Newton, K-Lytics, and different services like that can give you in detail numbers so that you can help make more informed decisions. Anybody want to add to what I'm?
Yeah.
Yes, I do. Because if I were to just come out and say, well, medical romance is doing well, then, you know, we would have such a flood. I mean, we have a lot of people watch this show now, and we don't want 3,000 authors all writing in medical romance just because I said, hey, look, it's up a little bit. But there are so many different things that are trending right now. What you want to do is go and see what speaks to you and what are you most interested in, because I haven't read any medical romances, so I have no idea how to write in that. I don't want to create this scenario where a ton of people who aren't passionate about the trend are trying to get in there to get the money. So go do your research, look at, because there's many trends. And if you look at one of Alex Newton's report, you'll see it's not just one thing doing well. It's a lot of things trending and going different places. Some go up, some go down. So it's a good idea to see what speaks to you and what you're passionate about writing. And then you'll do much better than just listening to us say, go follow this trend.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's been interesting that we've been seeing recently, I think things are speeding up in publishing. Trends develop faster and they disappear faster, I feel like. And so a lot of times what is happening is that the word gets out that there's this trend, and then it's like a plague of locusts descends on a specific trend and it just devours the whole market and tires the readers out and muddies the water so that the readers who liked what was originally there can't find what they're looking for because all this other stuff has come in. And so it's kind of a difficult thing, but mostly my advice to you all would be is that kind of trend bombing is not going to build you a career. So it might help you to make money quickly, and in the short term, it might be profitable to jump on trends like that. But I really would recommend that for the long run, for building a long-term career, find what you write really well, what you love, what you're passionate about, and what you can keep going with. And then find ways to, maybe add notes of it that will hit some of these trends or that will help to grab some of those readers. Like the billionaire thing that was so big, that was really, really popular. And maybe you didn't really enjoy writing about, billionaires specifically, but your kind of story that you wrote and that fit your brand, you could have a wealthy man in there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can use the trends within your own writing, and it will be better for your career than if you're just really bouncing around with all these categories. So I hope I said that right. But I would encourage people, know the trends, know what they are, because if you happen to be writing in one or you like writing in one, then you can really hit that hard at the time that it happens. And sometimes lightning strikes, and authors just write the right thing at the right time, and it does super well for them.
Yeah.
But
and sometimes they just write a really amazing book and start the trends.
And sometimes, aim to be a trendsetter. Yeah. And that's what I've been seeing. So many authors are talking about, well, what exactly is it that gets a trend going? And most of the time, it's a really good book or a really good movie or a really good series. Like something out there just is top-notch, exciting, hits the market in a way that, like, the real market, not like the trend market, but the core of entertainment seekers out there really grasp onto it and love it. And that is when trends start. So be a trendsetter instead of a trend hunter. Anyway.
And I also think too, when you are the third or fourth or fifth person writing in a hot category, you kind of have to think of it as, there's UPS, and then there's a lot of other smaller companies that do delivery, but nobody really knows who they are or what their name is. And so what you need to do is you need to set yourself apart from whatever it is that you're looking at. So Leo Savino talks a lot about finding author models to, people who are doing what you want to do yourself. And you have to look at them and study them and say, well, what are they doing? Not what are they doing that I can copy, but how are they interacting, or how are they putting themselves out into the market? What is it that is drawing the readers into the story or into their brand that I can then take and bring and do something similar, different, but similar. And then from there, you start to look at other things. So let's say Victorine, this is not what we're saying, but she was to say medical romance is hot right now. So if you go and you look at medical romance, there are all these guys without shirts on and they've got stethoscopes. And so you're like, well, medical romance is hot, but how can I turn it into something that's mine, that I could do that's a little different? So what if you were to do medical romance rom-com? So it's a hot genre, but you are putting a spin on it. Or you were to do medical romance paranormal, or, something different that is still similar to that genre that's hot, but that's to you. That's what we say. Look at what's trending and then figure out a way to make it your own, so that you're the person in that category that's starting that thing, and then people are going to follow you. And it's putting those twists and those unexpected things that people will come to follow you. Like we talked about Elena Johnson, and she is her Liz Isaacson is Cowboys Christian Romance, and that is the only thing that pen name of hers writes. And she's like, I can sell. Sorry, Liz sells all the time. I don't have a problem selling Liz books because she set a trend. She set something. And so anybody who sees Liz Isaacson knows exactly what they're going to get from her. But she has a harder time with Elena because there's a lot of other things that she does with Elena that maybe she's not necessarily setting a trend or setting a category that people know, oh, Elena Johnson writes in this. So you just have to keep that in mind when you are trying to decide what you're writing or trying to decide what a trend is. You have to be the UPS of that genre or that type of story. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And some things are just automatically always going to sell, right?
Yeah.
So Christian cowboy romances are automatically always going to sell. And so you don't have to be writing in a super trendy, hot thing if you're writing in something that's stable and has a really good market, has been good for a long time like that.
Yeah. And if I was to say there's anything going on in the romance world, it's that it's trending towards darker themes than it has before. And that doesn't translate over to clean and wholesome romance very well. And so I don't think there are any trends really going in clean and wholesome right now, which I think is interesting. And that's why it's so important to know what the base tropes that always sell, like the forever popular tropes, because those are still selling, and it's just a mixed bowl right now because, if anything comes from the steamy side of romance into clean and wholesome, right now, so many dark themes, darker romances are really popular right there, and it doesn't appeal as well to clean and wholesome. So it's kind of a tricky thing, and that's why it's so important to know. I will always be able to sell my mail order brides, or I will always be able to sell, my, fake marriage or whatever it is. So, anyways, we talked a lot about trends, but hopefully all of you are able to go out and do a lot of homework and find what you think will work out good for you this year. So Tori Redmond wants to know if we have any tips on overcoming fear and perfectionism as we start writing a book. So it looks like she's really good at prepping, and now she just needs help.
That's what I've done for like the last couple of months.
I was going to say, this is Judy.
Sometimes you just have to realize it's part of your process. Your brain is just, figuring out all the things it needs to know so that once you start, it all comes together. That's what I would tell myself. But really, what I just have to do is I just have to make myself start and write those words. And I just tell myself it doesn't have to be perfect. I try to tell myself that. I still go back and I fix it a lot. But also, it's for me, it's just so overwhelming to know I have this whole book to write and I have nothing written in it yet. And so sorry, one of those comments just like distracted me.
Yeah. I was like, bye-bye, you're gone.
I'm just like, what? Okay, so I just have to make myself start it, and I'll set a small goal and say, okay, I just have to write a scene today, or I have to write 500 words. And usually if I do get going on that, then I can go farther than that. But that's just the hardest thing for me, is overcoming the blank page. And a lot of times also I'll just kind of have a few paragraphs of what I'm planning to write that day. And that helps me get started too. Yeah. But yeah, if you're like me, it just sometimes takes a little bit of knowledge of what's going to happen in the story before you can actually go. So
yeah, and sometimes it's funny because I think you can take it too far. Sometimes you can know too much, and it'll stifle you because you've already made so many decisions that the creative fun can be gone. And it just really depends on your personality, and especially if it's your first book, you might not know what your personality is yet. Judy loves to be very prepared going into a story, and it's important. She's learned that her process requires that work for her.
I used to get so mad at myself, like, geez, everyone else can like finish a book one day and start another one the next day. And me, I like take at least a month off in between books because I'm just letting everything simmer. Mm-hmm. So that's just how I am.
And I've discovered that if I do too much outlining beforehand, I cannot make myself write. It's just, it stalls me completely. Yeah. And, but I do have to know some stuff. And so I've learned exactly the things that I need to know to get started. And it's usually things that get me excited and things that are just key elements. But so much of what I'm writing, I discover along the way. And if I don't have that excitement of discovery, then it's really hard for me to enjoy the process of drafting. I love editing because for me, that's where I get to really, get into the perfection thing. That's where I get to go in and say, okay, well, this is a theme that I discovered while writing this book. Now I get to go in and make sure that I handle that theme really well across the whole book. Or this character, his personality by chapter 13, had really developed so that I knew who he was by chapter 13. So I get to go back to the first part of the book and make sure that he's true to that personality before I knew what it was.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing about perfectionism in any kind of art, is that we think that there is a perfect and there's not. The whole concept of perfection is a myth in art. It's unattainable. It doesn't exist because there is no one absolute in any of this, right? You can never write anything that somebody's going to be like perfection and the person next to them is going to agree with it. And, you can have perfect editing. I've, as far as like no typos, I think that has happened for a few people. I've read books that I didn't see any typos in. Certainly not mine. But as far as the craft, I don't think that anybody will ever write a perfect novel because it's a matter of opinion. So let it go. Just, let that go. Let yourself just put words down and not worry about if they're always the right words, and try and have fun, because like you love the story and you love these characters that you've been preparing, all the prep work you've been doing. You love that. You love them. So now you get to go and spend more time with them. And so if you're not having fun, then, what's the point of writing? Did you guys, when you were little girls, ever like to play Barbies, but actually spend hours and hours putting together a home for them and then never actually get around to playing with them?
I never did that.
I used to get under my mom's sewing machine table because they didn't have like a Barbie house. And I would put together bedrooms and living rooms. I'd grab like washcloths and things from around the house, and I would set up this whole house for them. And I'd do it for hours and hours and hours. And then I would never actually play with the dolls. And it took my mom a while to just, she'd get so mad at me. And then she realized that's the part she likes.
Mm-hmm.
And for some people, the world building and the character development and all this sort of stuff is the part that they really, really like. Unfortunately, somehow you have to get that to a place where you can invite the readers to come and share your world with you. So think of your writing as an invitation to the rest of the world to come and join you at your party.
So
Okay.
I've been talking to my husband because he's trying to write a book. And it's kind of interesting to go back to seeing how writers are at the beginning. And I've had to have some like truth conversations with him about all of this, because he has very similar, he gets into his brain or into his own mind. And he, like one day this week, I came downstairs. He's like, I sat in front of the computer for an hour and a half and I got 200 words written. And he's like, because I keep adding words and deleting words and adding words and deleting words. And finally, I had to say, you know what? Okay, first of all, if it takes you an hour and a half to write 200 words, there's something wrong. Because people, even if you type one letter at a time, you could still be able to type more than 200 words. And it was interesting because I'm like, he was judging who he is going to be as a writer in 5 years to who he is now. And I've had to tell him, I'm like, one, you are a writer. You're not a storyteller yet. You don't know how to write a story from point A to point Z, how to get characters through that. So your first goal as a writer is to write a story that can be completed because like you hear a lot of people, I'm a writer, and they're like, but I can't get past the 3rd chapter because I'm just, editing all the 1 to 3 chapters. And I'm like, you just need to, I told him, you need to sit down and every day you need to set a goal. I'm going to write 500 words. And this might not be for everybody. And I think for him starting out, this is good for him because he gets so much in his, is this sentence right? Is this word the right word to use? And I'm like, your goal, your first draft is to just plot a story. A very, very lengthy, plotty story is what you're doing. Because if you don't know how to get your characters through a story, you're never going to get to the end of your story. And so I've just been having these conversations with him because he hasn't learned to trust himself because he hasn't had that experience. Like now I can sit down and I can write because I'm on my like 35th book, and I can trust that what I'm going to write is going to be at least okay because every experience prior to this has taught me that. And I'm like, you just have to slice things off as little bit as you can. And so if you can just say, I finished a book, that's huge. And then you can say, I edited my book. That's huge. Like there's certain things that you need to be trying to, check off your list. And so if you've thought about your plot and you've written it down, then you just need to sit down and you need to write it. And you need to let yourself, like, what is it? Crappy first drafts. Let it be bad, but enjoy this experience of actually getting it all down. Finding out that you're going to discover characters as you're writing that you had no idea you were going to even find, or who they were or what they were doing there, that you're going to have to weave back into those perfected chapters that you worked on for those first 3. And now those first 3 chapters that you had gotten pristine are now going to have to be scrapped because they're not going to make sense to make what you need in the middle to make sense.
Yeah.
So
many people who have trouble finishing books have like 12 half-written books. And
that I think is the death of an author, is not being able to finish a book.
Yep. Okay. And one more point that's kind of related is that a lot of like all these writing conferences that we talk to that have all these amazing classes or all these books or all these courses, sometimes as authors, we spend so much time educating ourselves on how to write that when we actually go to write, it adds a lot of pressure for one thing, because we're like, we know all this stuff and all these people have said, don't do this, don't do this. This is how you do it. That when you actually go to write, it's a lot of pressure. And also, like, you can know things mentally and not know how to execute it. And I will say all day long that you can learn everything there is to know about show, don't tell, or theme, or foreshadowing, or dialogue.
Filler words.
All this stuff. You can learn it all day long. But the only way you're going to learn how to execute it is by actually writing, and by writing badly for a while. And that's what's so hard for everybody to accept from themselves, like you were saying, is to accept the fact that you're not going to start out as the perfect writer. I think there's variations. Like some people just have an amazing talent, and their first book might be a lot better than someone else's first book. But no one's going to start out where they'll be, down the road, just like you said. And if anybody wants a great example of this, you can go back to, I think, all 4 of us to our first book and read our first book, and then read.
Mine's amazing.
I never published my first book, but I can put it up. You can read it. It's pretty bad.
My first book is up, and I recently got a 1-star review.
So read Michelle's.
Read mine.
Mine's only 99 cents today, so do it.
You can read any of my early books, and you will see that even though I think like potential was there, and I do have people that like those books, it's just night and day compared to where I am. And my own editor has, said, yeah, I've seen your growth just since I've been working with her for, about a year now. And that's because I wrote 12 books this last year. And that sort of that amplifies the effect. The more you write, the more it gets. But don't let your knowledge, don't let your education, don't let your prep work, don't let your expectations for yourself stop you from doing the writing. And just get the words down and then figure out what to do with them.
Yeah, you have to do the learning process, and writing is part of the learning process. It's just like you can study how to play an instrument, but until you pick that up and actually do it, you're not going to learn better. So yeah, don't be afraid to write bad. You can always edit it later.
And you can call it practice if you need to.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Give yourself the grace to mess up, and just, if you get in your brain, just be like, This is my learning. This is my schooling. I'm not paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to college to learn how to write a book. I'm sitting down for free by my computer and I'm learning to write. And that'll be the best schooling and the best thing you can ever do for yourself. And I think it's funny, authors who are very new, who have maybe written one book, they are a lot more critical of other authors than authors who have written later books. And that's because we see the process and we see where you are and where you're going to be. And we're just, and I would hope that we're more encouraging, like, just keep going. Don't stop. Like, yes, this sentence isn't perfect. And yes, this paragraph is not perfect, but that's not one important. Like, I look back at how I was a beta reader in the beginning and I'm like embarrassed. I was really mean. And now I'm like, what was I thinking? Why was I like that? Like, everybody goes through different processes. Yes, you need to tell people if something's not working, but I was nitpicky. Holy cow. Like, just remembering, I'm like embarrassed. I'm like, oh, I'm the next person.
She was one of my beta readers. Let me just put that out there. No, I'm just joking.
I know. I'm a lot different now, because there's different things. You have to look at people in different varying lengths. My husband's like, read my book. And so I read it and he's like, yeah, these sentences are working. I'm like, I'm not even reading it for that. I'm reading it for your plot, because bad books, good plots that are not written perfectly can sell, because that's what people want. And I asked my reader group today, because I was like, hey, I'm making covers. What do you guys look for in a cover? And somebody added there a good plot. And that is the first and foremost, which I'm like, that's not really a cover, guys, but like, that's what they look for in a book, is your plot. You can have a misspelling or weird words or maybe not perfectly constructed sentences if you have a great plot. So that should be your main focus. I'm sorry, we're beating a dead horse. At least I'm beating a dead horse.
No. I think it was like a really good.
It's a good horse to beat.
There's so many new writers out there. We have so many new writers joining our group, and this is the biggest challenge for all of them is finishing a book. And when I talk to people in person, like my nephew and my friend's daughter and all these different people that come up to me in my personal life and want to know about writing a book, I'm saying finish something. That's what I tell people over and over again. I don't say take this class. I don't say read this book. I don't say any of those things. I said finish something. I said that is the biggest hurdle to anyone becoming a writer, is learning how to finish. And once you can learn how to finish writing the full story, that's when you can figure out, okay, now how do I learn how to edit? How do I learn how to construct a plot? How do I learn? All of those things can come after learning how to finish something. If you can't finish something, nothing else is going to matter. So let's see what else we have going on here, because we can talk for 20 minutes on just about any question. Okay, so we have a question from our lovely Inez Johnson, who says, can you talk about sweet cover trends? I've noticed some sweet authors have changed things up recently, covers and titles, including you guys. So she wants us to talk about it. She actually is inviting us to have a discussion.
Well, that just means nobody else's answers or questions are going to be answered tonight.
I vote everyone should start doing couples, because those are what I'm doing and they're the best.
So do we see trends in covers? I
don't think there's really anything. There's guy and girl, and some sort of landscape. Like, I feel like that's the three.
I'm not saying
maybe vector.
Some just girl.
Some girl.
Some
specific tropes.
That would be YA,
Yeah.
I don't think I see
Or like
rom-coms.
Regency does. And
Regency has just girl.
Regency.
And anything with a marriage trope can also feature just the bride.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's all over the place. So what would cause us to change our covers right now? For me, I am not changing any covers. So mine
is not applicable to you.
Not applicable to me. So I think mine are doing okay still, because they've mostly all have men on them. I am kind of kicking the trends a little bit in Regency by doing men only covers, which very few people do men only covers in Regency. But I think it's fun and different, which is kind of one of the things that I'm looking to do in 2020 across my thing is to find a way to do what the market is doing or what the trends are doing, but different. Like, see the common themes, the common colors, common like things that work well and appeal well in the same way, but with a different slant to it. And it's the same way with titles. So can we just everybody stop what you're thinking about titles right now? Because we used to say use your tropes in your titles, and we weren't specific enough, I guess, about that. We're not saying put 10 tropes in your title, which so many people are doing, and sometimes it works really well for some people, but I think it's starting to become really weary for readers. I think readers are going to look at the bestseller charts and people's newsletters, and it's like not one cover in and of itself that is tricky, but for readers when they are scrolling through books and trying to make a decision, and there are 8 words in every title on every book and all these tropes, I think it just kind of becomes a blur.
Just a list of keywords.
Yeah.
And it's not helpful. So what you
And
want
if
to
you read it
do
out
is
loud,
make
it doesn't make sense.
Right. You want to make it cute. You want to showcase the trope in a new and cute way, and be clever with your titles, and take Amy's class on tropes. She's going to teach it at the Nebraska Writers Guild Conference, and it'll teach you how to do this.
And it's amazing. I went to it last year in different conference.
It really is a great class.
So there's a lot of information about that, because there are people that are saying to use the specific names of the tropes that people are looking for, because it helps to pull your book up in search results to help index your book on Amazon. And that's true, but there's a lot of places that you can do it in, and you don't have to do it in all the places. So if you want to have your book be as keyword effective or indexed as thoroughly on Amazon as you can get it, you still have lots of room in your keywords. You still have a subtitle. You still have your book description. And all of those places are areas where you can put the same information, and Amazon will index it just the same.
Yeah.
So if you want to make sure that your book is indexed on Amazon for search results as a second chance romance, for example, you can have second chance romance in your keywords. You can have it in your book description. You can even have
reviews.
Yeah. It's going to happen if it's in any of those places. So that's why you don't have to have all of your tropes in your title. There's so many different places to plug them in where it'll still get reviewed. So, and nobody think we're slamming on any one author because there's so many.
Because every single one of you. Just kidding.
Every single one of you.
We're not slamming on one. We're slamming on all
of you at one time. No, we're just saying we want to be sure that we're giving the right message, that we're teaching the right concept, and that is to relay the concept of your tropes to your readers so that they know what your book is about instantly, but not necessarily throwing so much of them at the information at them at one time that they can't grasp one thing. And so it's part of the concept where you have 3 seconds to get someone to click on your book title, and 7 seconds once they get to the description or your book page. You have such a quick amount of time to say, oh yeah, I'm totally interested in that book. What is that about? And the longer it takes them to read your title, the longer it's going to take them to make that decision, because they're trying to process all this stuff. And so give them the strongest selling point. What is the most important thing? And like Victorine said, be clever about it. If it's a bodyguard romance, you don't have to say bodyguard, bodyguard, bodyguard. You can say protect, safe.
Protects my heart.
Yeah. Judy's doing a little marketing. No.
Let me show you guys. Bodyguard.
So what are the words that evoke that trope besides the name of the actual trope? Be clever. And mostly I'm just wanting to try and get things fresh with, keep my titles fresh and interesting, something that resonates because it gives, you know, the idea or the concept of what my book is about in a new and fun and surprising way. So I would encourage you guys, if you are changing your covers and if you are changing your titles, to look at what is doing well, but be fresh with it. Be, you know, like Amy and Lee have said, you know, add your special sauce to it. Okay. Was that a long enough discussion for you, Inez? I think she watches it for breakfast.
Yeah, she does.
Isn't that what she says? She's going to be sitting there. She's going to be sitting there eating her breakfast. She's going to be like, yeah, see, I am. Yeah. You know.
So come back and let us know if that's you and that
Don't
happens.
stay up late or anything with us. Okay, no, just joking. Okay, so BD Grant wants to say, oh, I love this question, and I actually went and looked it up. Did you guys? What does your most read newsletter email to date look like?
I better go look.
Yep,
really
I
fast.
did go look.
Okay, well, I did too. So you go first, Victory.
All right.
What does
so
that mean? How do you
like-
find that?
Like, go through
here's
your
the
report.
statistics, and you can see how many people clicked, and you know
Okay.
the ones. All of my most read ones, I have. You know, I can see the highest numbers. They're all have the word "free" in the title. So if I was giving away free codes, you could win free codes for audiobooks, or you know, a free book that I was giving away, or
I
someone
thought
else.
you were going to say Anne Marie.
Yeah,
No.
all my Anne Marie solos.
They all say
Are the
Anne Marie in my title.
So,
So yeah, that's what gets the most clicks for me.
okay.
How do you, okay, hold on. Let's do it. Let's teach Amy how to do this. How do you do this?
What service do you
I
use?
just played my music.
Mailer Lite.
Do you use MailerLite?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know on MailerLite because my PA runs my MailerLite list, which is just my art team. So I don't even care about that one.
Oh,
that
no.
much. So on MailChimp, you just go into reports and it's one of the options, the main options on the drop down
Reports.
menu.
Hold on, I'm logging in.
Okay. Well, she's looking.
Reports. And then what? Where do you go from there?
Does it have where you can look at each different campaign you sent out? Or does it have a chart where you can see the high and low? Like
There's a chart,
table?
yeah.
Can you see which ones had the highest open rates and the highest click rates just by looking at the chart? Because on MailChimp, you can just click on the data points that look highest on the chart and it'll take you straight to
But
the...
you said of all time?
Well, that's what she's asking for. It would take
I
a
didn't
while.
look at all of them.
I
just
went
looked at
back for the last like year and a half, I
Yeah,
think.
I went back to the last year.
So for mine, the ones that have got the most opens have like more, I guess, clickbaity titles.
yes.
And so one of them was something I never thought I'd own, ... And then another one was I
What
kind
did
of
you never
can't...
think you would own?
A white
She wants to
kidnapper van.
No, we
She
want
wants
to
to
know.
know.
Yeah, it's my husband's handyman van. It's a white kidnapper van, so I never thought I'd own one of those. And then the other one is I kind of can't contain myself.
Oh. And Judy's teaching, I think, a newsletter class at the Writing Gals conference.
Yes, she
It's
is.
true.
That's the one she was wanting to teach, and we were like, yes. So
Yeah,
when I
I'll
looked
do
at
that.
mine, I was really happy to see that my just ordinary emails, the best ones were my new release from me. You know, that's what I want to be my biggest newsletter with the most opens and the most clicks. And if I'm not, then I need to do a much better job because those are my people that I've recruited, that I'm paying for, and they need to be clicking on my books more than anybody else's. I love it. I love it when they click on someone else's really, really hard. I mean, my favorite thing is that I find a good match between an author and my readers, and I love doing that. But I need them to click on my books if I'm going to be the one paying for them. And I was glad to see that that was the case. But there were 3 exceptions that were higher than any of my new releases. One of them was updated link was my subject line because I had sent a link out that was wrong to either one of my books or somebody else's books. And so I just sent out another newsletter, updated link. I had like 58% open on that newsletter and like 30% clicks. And it was just a regular email. I'm like, I should have a link correction every single week.
Updated link to my new release, everyone.
I was like, whoa. But it got people's attention. They're like, updated link. Well, what? You know?
It's important.
It's like when you see a car crash or you see like a siren, you're like, I wonder where they're going. Where was the fire? What did you do wrong? Where did you send everybody?
Well, and it's just kind of like if somebody puts ignore the typos, you know, that's the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go look and find the typos. I'm like, typos, what? Okay. So that was kind of that thing. And then the other one was when I sent out an email asking people if they still wanted to be subscribed to my newsletter. And that one was another one that was way over 50% open and like 30% clicks. And the thing that they were clicking on was the link that took them to the page where they could update their newsletter, their email preferences, which is exactly what I wanted them to do. I wanted them to go in and say, no, I want to unsubscribe, or I want to only get new release alerts, or I only want to get emails about young adult and contemporary. I don't want to get your Regency newsletters. And so I wanted my newsletter to be very specific to what people wanted to see in their newsletters so that they would click, so they didn't unsubscribe, so to really cater it. And so that email that went out got really high clicks. A lot of people clicked to update their newsletter preferences. So I do suggest doing that, you know, maybe twice a year if you get, you know, just to let people know if you have it set up that way. For me, since I write in multiple genres, that's how I run my newsletter. People are able to sign up to one newsletter and only get the newsletters for the genres that they are interested in reading. And hopefully that's all of them. But sometimes they just really don't like Regency, or Regency readers really don't like contemporary. So I customize my newsletter for them. I think, what was the other one? I can't remember, but it was another like off the wall thing like that, you know. So
yeah, I looked a little farther, and another one that was really good was "Don't Hate Me." That was with the emoji. So
I think the just like Judy's, like these fun titles, people are just kind of like tired of, you know, new book from such and such author, you know. They're like, I don't really need a book right now, or blah, 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 blah. So they don't click on it as much. So you really want to have that grabby title. And what I'm learning is don't be afraid to be a little bit spammy. One thing that I'm learning is that in my email that I get, I pay attention to other products besides books, because companies that sell other products, I want to see what they do for their, you know, not just their subject lines, but through the body of their email. And what are they doing that is effective to me as somebody who really does not like to get those emails in my inbox. Mm-hmm. Every time I sign up for something, I always try and click the do not sign me up. And somehow I get signed up anyways. And I'll go through and unsubscribe as much as I can. So if an email catches my attention and makes me think, oh, what's that? I'll just click on it real quick just to see what it is. That's the kind of stuff I pay attention to. And sometimes authors are not the best way to learn that. That's what I am learning. Did you figure this out, Anne Marie?
Yeah. So I was really happy to see that, like, I have some spikes, but nothing super insanely. So I think my newsletter subscribers click on all my links, but I also think it's because my PA writes my titles, and she writes such good email open lines. It's just, I like am in shock. But my biggest one this last like month and a half, like November to December, was my Christmas, the book for my new release, which was the subject line was Merry Christmas, Friends, Christmas in Honeygrove is Live. And then the other ones were 2 solos I sent out. And I'll read you that, like give you an example of why my PA is amazing and what she does. It's the subject line was a cowboy fake marriage story. Yes, please. So like she gives really good descriptions of what's in the email or what the story is about. So people know going in that they want to click on it. And that has got me the best
Yeah.
the
Another
best
one of my
Netflix.
Another one of my good ones was actually the title of one of Anne Marie's books. It was Second Chance at Christmas Inn, and that's just all I put for the thing, and that got a ton of opens. So sometimes if an author has a really good title and you're just sharing a solo maybe, or even more, just some people would just really like the title ideas too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I noticed that my best new release of my books was Flirting with the Bad Boy, which was in the title, and it was like way higher than all my other ones.
Mm-hmm.
And that book has continued to sell for me all year long.
And then they're like, "Is she flirting with the bad boy? What? What's the title of this email?"
No. Okay, so I think we have hopefully answered that question pretty good. We have a lot of questions and we've been on here a while. Okay, so I'm going to skim through some that we have talked about before.
Or we could save some for another part 2.
Well, but there's some that we get asked a lot. So someone had a question about ads, but we have some podcasts about ads, and it would be such a long discussion. So I suggest to go look at any of our ad courses. Amy Brocious is asking for sort of like a timeline for the publishing process, and I don't know. I think the gals and I can talk about possibly doing a book on that sometime. Or some kind of post in the group, because it's going to be different for everybody. But we'll see if we can figure that out. Do you guys want to touch on that a little bit? Or
someone's
because that could be
rubbing
a
their
whole
fingers
podcast.
along their desk.
Huh?
Are you like thrumming your fingers along your?
No, I'm not moving.
I'm hearing something.
Is your mic touching your hair or your skin, maybe? Yeah, I think that's it.
Cord up like this the whole time.
It was just making a lot of noise.
I know. I've been moving stuff around the whole time. I've never had this trouble before. I'm just gonna.
Well, I was just typing, so that might have been me.
Oh, okay.
Don't blame
maybe.
yourself.
Okay. Blame Michelle
Judy's
though.
just super sensitive. I didn't hear anything. Me and you are good, Michelle. Judy's just weird. She's got like supersonic hearing or something.
It is my personality. I am very I notice everything and distracted by everything, so it's great.
Okay. BD Grant is also asking how long do you wait to release the next in the series, which we've also talked about. She's saying 5 weeks, but it's killing her to wait that long.
I think if she already has it done, do it within like 3 weeks.
3. Yeah. I would say if you have it ready to go, 3 weeks is good. Okay, what about the book group box sets with a buy-in? Is it worth it? So none of us have, as of yet, done one. So the best information I think we would have on that is that, yes, they can be popular and successful. It's usually for people trying to get a list, like the USA Today bestseller list. And I know a lot of people are successful in getting it. I've seen a lot of drama and a lot of things go wrong with those. So I think you just have to be very, very careful that you know the people you're working with as much as possible. And most especially that the person who's running it has a good reputation and knows what they're doing, and that people know that they're going to be honest. Because if you have a dozen authors sending $500 to this person and there's contracts all around, I've seen those things go bad. So I would just say, yes, they can be successful and they can be very good, but use caution and prudence when joining them. Okay. Anybody else have anything to add to that? Does that sound good? Okay.
I'm good.
All right. Catherine Pazzi, could I have tips on how to get a book ready for publication when you have very little money to spend on it? So
Get a newsletter, and newsletter swaps is great for like launching it.
Yeah.
But get if you only have a few things to spend your money on, get a really good cover, because if your cover stinks, they're not going to get any like into your book.
Yeah. Don't do a homemade cover if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Best thing you can do is invest, even if it's a pre-made, but it's a professional who knows what they're doing, then go for that. And I would say to help reduce editing costs, use critique partners and beta readers as much as you can to clean it up as much as possible before you're paying a professional to do it, and shop around for your editing costs, because there's a wide margin out there in what people charge and what their abilities are. Most editors will offer, a first chapter or so many pages free, so you can get a judge if they're going to be a good match for you. So don't just grab the first editor you come across. Shop around.
Yeah, and I've heard of other authors just like trading services. So if you have something that you can offer to them and they're a good editor, you can maybe trade.
And if you want like step by step what I do when I launch, in the file section of our Writing Gals group, I have my launch schedule. And so it goes day by day what I do as I launch. So that might be a good thing to read over and give you ideas of what you can do. And I don't usually spend a lot of money when I launch.
Okay, sounds good. Emily Evans wants to know, you've drafted and plotted a book, or you've drafted a plotted book, she says, and the length is coming up shorter than expected. Where do you start your analysis to find the issue and redevelop? So my first question is, like, why do you want it to be a certain length? Like sometimes a story going shorter isn't necessarily a bad thing. The plot might not be strong enough to carry a longer word count. And oftentimes if you go in and just try and add words, you're just going to be filling it with fluff that is going to throw your pacing off and bore your reader. So I would say be really careful about that. And just, if the pacing, if it flows well and it's engaging and dynamic and ends when it should and all that sort of stuff, then I would say maybe that's the length it's supposed to be.
And then get beta readers to help.
Yeah, that's the best.
Because a lot of times we can't tell. We thought it was great. And they can help guide you.
Yeah. The only other thing I can think of is that I write really, really lean. So I don't write long. A lot of authors have to cut a lot of words out when they're done and they're going through editing. I write so lean that I actually have to try and add in things like descriptions. And so, just figure out what kind of writer you are. If you're a really concise writer, then go in and get beta readers, like give them specific questions and say, are there characters that you want to see more descriptions of, or does the setting feel like you know where you are, and or do I need to add more to the setting? All that kind of stuff. Give them specific questions that can help them, give you the feedback you're looking for. Amanda Bailey wants to know, how did you stop from vomiting after setting up your first Facebook ad?
I just quit doing them.
I did too. It stresses me out too much.
Like, I'll stick with AMS. They spend it slower.
It's a learning tax, right? You have to pay your learning tax, and sometimes you have to pay a lot in learning tax when you're doing Facebook ads. But just know that it'll get better if you test and test and test your ads. It's just a whole lot of testing and methodically testing. So don't just change everything the next time that you do an ad. Change one thing, and then you'll figure out if that one thing improved it or made it worse.
And I think Anne-Marie would tell you from all of her Facebook experience, like, don't pull the plug too fast, right? Like, go in with a budget, know what you can spend, and then don't freak out too quickly, because sometimes it just takes a little while for things to get going, for you to figure out what you're doing, for for you to start seeing if it's being effective.
So you're not supposed to just give up the first day?
Yeah.
When they didn't do anything? What?
Don't freak
I tell
out.
people budget a week, and every day say I will spend $20 or $10, and I will not turn it off. I mean, well, no. That you can turn it off if it's obviously not working, but you will continue running ads that whole week. Go find a new audience or something like that. But don't do give Facebook some time, and you will see good changes, or you'll see not so good changes. And if you give it a week and it doesn't work, then I give you permission to turn it off. But before then, And set your budget low enough. Yes, Facebook spends through all of it, but if it's $5 a day, you're probably not going to see a lot of movement at $5 a day, but you'll know you're spending $5 a day. I say everybody spend $20 a day for a week. So how much is that? $140. Budget $140. That's all you're going to spend. You're going to see if it's going to work. Because you know what? We go to the movies or we go to Disneyland and we spend money there and all that sort of like so it seems so scary, but you know, when you break it up like that, you're like, okay, so I just can't go see 2 movies. So
Yep. All right. Jen Johnson wants to know if we have any new ideas on launch, plans and our price points. So for me personally, 99-cent launches still work really well. They work the best. They're the most profitable for me. And I've tried some where I launch at $2.99 and then have a week promotion at 99 cents. And those can also be pretty effective too. I'm hoping to be able to scale up my prices a little bit, but so far, if I want to make money, the most money, it's usually at 99 cents. And I'm hoping this year to have longer word counts in all of my books to help them be even more profitable. So, yeah. Anybody want to chime in with what you're doing?
That's what I've found too. I think it's a matter of testing your own books and your own audience and figure out which way works best for you. So for me, I tested launching at full price. I tested having a day where I put a lot of energy into advertising a cheaper price, and that just didn't work as well for me as launching at 99 cents for a month and then upping the price after that. So I'm going back to my old slow launch method after testing. So try different things and see what works best for you and your audience. Because some people swear by putting a bunch of ads on a full priced book and they get it to sell a lot better than the other way. So see what works for you.
Yeah. And it can also depend on what your budget is. Some people might have a bigger budget to spend on the marketing. And some people like me, I don't have a big marketing budget at all. And so the best return for me is simply getting, as much movement as I can through newsletter swaps and smaller promo sites. And just simply the 99 cents thing is like my marketing, that having it be at a cheap price that people are willing to give it a try. That's like my ads, So yes, I'm making less per book, but it's just me investing in getting those quick sales so that my book will move up in rank and more people will see it, getting on more Autobots, if that's even a thing anymore. But another point in it is that for those of you who are new and haven't been around a whole lot, is that, selling my book at 99 cents, I don't make much money on each copy, like 35 cents. But for me, the vast majority of my money still comes through Kindle Unlimited sales. So that makes it less of an issue, because if I sold my book at $3.99 and barely moved any copies, then it wouldn't help my rank any, and I wouldn't get seen, and my KU payout is going to be the same no matter what the price of my book is. So, Rachel John, what was your most successful book or series, and why do you think it was?
My most successful book was It Was Always You. I think a lot of that was just the timing that I hit the young adult market, because it was like booming that summer. And that's when the Kissing Booth had just come out on Netflix, and then To All the Boys I've Loved Before came out like the next month. And so everyone was just loving young adult. Also, it's an amazing book, so I think I was also hitting some hot trends at the time, because it was a fake romance, and those were pretty big that summer as well. So
yeah, I think my most successful book series is definitely my Southern Billionaire series, which is the one I started writing in 2018. And it's made me the most money so far and away. And then my next series that I did, the Rich and Famous, which was a little bit of a Rom Spence series, it did really well eventually, but the first 2 books didn't go so well. Usually, I think in every series, my third book is the one that does the best. And the third book of that
was
series,
my third book too.
Yeah. happen to have been a billionaire in that series. So there's some magic with third book and billionaire for me. And those covers happen to also be, I think, the best ones in my series. So yeah.
My most successful was my Married series, and Accidentally Married is by far my most successful book as far as bringing in the most money. And I think it's because I researched what was trending and wrote a book to market. That's the first one I specifically wrote to market and studied the romance genre and wrote specifically for that. And so I think that's why it's done the best.
Mm-hmm. Anne-Marie?
Mine is my rule series, my YA book. My rule number 1 has by far made me the most money. However, I believe it's because Amazon picked it up. And when you have a book that Amazon picks up, I mean, I don't think that book has ever been under 10,000 in rank, and I don't always have ads running to it. It's just always stayed really high. And right at the beginning, I remember I had done all my pushes and I'd done all my newsletter swaps, and I was still like 1,500 in the store. And I was like, okay, I guess this is how it's going to do. And then all of a sudden it just started climbing. And it was during that kissing booth to All the Boys I've Loved Before. I was 5 on the charts next to Jenny Han was the first 3, and I was number 5. So I was just, and Jenny Han's group loved me. I'm like, every time I do AMS ads books to her or AMS ads to her books, I just sell. And so I think there is a difference between when Amazon picks up your book and starts showing it to people, and then they buy it, and then they start showing it to more people.
Yeah, that's how it is with my book too, because they still are showing that.
Yeah, none of us will ever be able to sell books as well as Amazon can. So
no, and you feel it. And like even now, I'm like, man, that book was so easy. And I remember I was just like, it's climbing in rank, and I don't know what's going on. And it's selling more and more and more. So, but for me, I hear everyone says it's like their 3rd or 5th book that takes off, and it's never that way for me. It's always my 1st and 2nd ones that do really, really well. And then my other ones do okay, but not like my 1st or 2nd ones. And maybe it's just because I'm more excited about a first one in the series, and so I'm doing all I can to push it or something. But I think also every time I have a new book out, I'm testing a different type of strategy. So that's probably more my problem is. And I wanted to go back to the previous question. So if you run ads, for me, launching at full price makes the most sense. I recently dropped a couple of my books to 99 cents to see if I could get them promotion. And I was losing more money than when I was full price and pushing ads than I was pushing ads at a cheaper price. So it just kind of depends on where's your profit margin. If you're not spending anything, then having your book priced at 99 cents is fine. But since I do use advertising and I do push my books with that, I have to have that higher price point. I do think that there are readers are getting more used to higher priced books, though. I think they're getting, well, they're, KU people will always still be KU people. But I notice what happens is instead of people picking up my book through KU, they were picking it up for 99 cents because I think with the economy the way it is and all that kind of, people have jobs and money in their pockets. Hey, I'll spend 99 cents and have a book for sure in my library forever. And then I can borrow the other ones that I can't, that are $7.99 or $10.99 that I don't want to spend that much money on. So for me, I wasn't getting that boost. I was getting more sales and my rank was increasing, but my money wasn't coming in because nobody was picking up through KU. So I think there's a lot of testing that has to go on in that too, to see where can you handle things. However, if I was doing it with no advertising, I would definitely say 99 cents is the way to go because you get more of those people. But just be cognizant, like if your page reads aren't climbing, what you might need to do then is change your price and see what happens, because maybe then what people will do is start picking up through KU and giving you that income, even though maybe your rank is slipping down, but your income is climbing because people are picking it up, reading the page reads, and you're getting that little extra. What do they say for a $2.99 book? You only have to sell 1, but you'd have to sell like 10 of a 99-cent book. So you kind of have to see that. And like what we always say, rank doesn't always matter. So what really matters is money in your pocket.
Yeah, and I'm definitely going to continue experimenting. Like, if I feel like a certain book can handle a higher price point at launch because of what it is, then I'm going to try it. And if it's bombing, then I can change the price and it'll be up
always
in
change
like
it.
24 hours,
Mm-hmm.
So Okay, Rachel John. No, we just did that one. Carolyn Larry wants to know best marketing practices for 2020, please. And it's getting trickier out there, guys. Like, I don't think promo sites are doing quite as well. And I think that ads are getting more and more competitive. Just in general, everybody's going to have to kind of up their game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to go back. Like I always say, it's like, I feel like I'm just like beating a rug with this, but like, you know what, guys? Covers and titles and blurbs and taglines are your number one best marketing tools ever. Make your book easy for people to click on. So that means if your book has got stellar packaging, that is going to sell more books for you than anything else. And if it's not good, no amount of money you throw at it is going to help you. Like if you have a bad cover, for example, and you're spending a ton of money in Facebook ads, it's not going to do anything for you. I mean, you might sell some copies, but in the long run, you're not going to create success for that book by constantly putting ads to it, because that just spends your money. So
yeah, and I always tell people I do 90% of my marketing before I ever publish the book. It's all about the research that I do, about what is trending, what I need to put in the book to make it sell well, my special sauce. What does my audience want, and what audience am I writing to? And so if you can figure all of that out and write a book that fits an audience, you will sell no matter what you do. You have to package it well, but it will sell. So it's much harder to push ads to a book that's not written to a market that wants that book.
Yep. So, okay. So to claim tax benefits from being an author, do you have to be set up as a business or LLC first? No, you don't. You just use Schedule C on your tax form, and you can do that yourself or through your accountant or tax person or TurboTax. It's just a different. You can file it under your personal income tax, and you just attach that particular schedule to it with all of your deductions, and there's, all the information on how to do that. So, is there a way to analyze or correlate your AMS ads to your KU page reads? So
this is what I do with anything. I figure out what my ratio from KU downloads to sales of books is, and you can just say, okay, well, how many pages are in my KU, or how many pages are in my book, and that'll give you how many books you sold. You have to be like, some people might never finish your book, but you have to give a ballpark number, and then you just say, okay, for every one book I sell, you take the number of KU books you sold, you divide it by the number of books you've sold, like actual ebooks, and that will give you your ratio. So mine is normally 1 to 4. So for every one book I sell 4 KU downloads. And so that's my determiner of like, okay, well, if I've sold 2 books and my book is in KU, then I probably have sold 8 KU books. And you kind of have to adjust it as you're going. So like at a week time, if you're doing ads for that certain amount of time, you look at your ratio that way. But there's really no way to find out. Just honestly, rank will tell you, if your rank's really not moving at all, you're probably not getting KU downloads.
So it's a guessing game.
And that's the thing too, tracking. You have to track. You have to be able to look, and it can be a slow, or you could say, well, I'm not making a profit off book 1 and I turned off my ads. But if I look at my entire series, then my entire series amount. Stupid Siri.
Every time you say
My
series,
entire-
she hears you.
Yes. Every time, even things that don't even sound like her name. She's like, I'm sorry, did you call you called me? And I'm like, no, I didn't.
I
But
will
you can
send
do
you
it.
how to shut that off.
Oh,
Amy.
thank you.
I'll send you a thing.
It's really
Well, I don't
annoying.
think we ever hear it. I think it's only you that hears it.
I know she can set it in her settings though, so
But
it
I'm
never
worried that it muffles.
it won't
or
recognize that
changes.
anymore.
Oh, good. Okay.
Okay,
Yes.
we're gonna do like 5 minutes of rapid fire on the comment questions. Do you guys mind if I do it, or does somebody else want to do it?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so marketing in adult fiction specifically, is it any different than other genres that we should add anything?
Just have young adult authors sharing it with their newsletter.
There you go.
You don't want to
Great
mess up your
advice.
also bots. I've done that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. How often do you go to writing conferences, and which ones do you recommend?
The Writing Gals.
And Nebraska Writing Guild. Yes. We are having the most epic writing conference ever, August 6th through 8th in Sandy, Utah. And watch our Facebook group page because we will be putting the registration link there first and soon. That one's good. The only ones I've been to personally have been Storymakers in Utah, and it's good. Nink in St. Petersburg, Florida is good. There's this one called SMEA in Kansas City that I've been to that's good. And what else have I been to besides Nebraska Writing Guild, which is always good?
20 books.
Did you go to
20 books. I didn't make it to 20 books because I had family illness and stuff come up. But you guys, I heard really good things about it.
Yeah, I heard good things
Yeah.
about it too.
So
I think you covered all the ones I know of.
Mhm.
yeah, I know that there's a lot out there. The thing with conferences is that I think they tend to be better for newer writers. It's there. So much of it is for people who are, earlier in their career. And then at some point, there's kind of like this flip where you either start teaching classes or you're going for the networking and to see your friends.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an interesting thing. They're just a lot of fun most of the time. But for me personally, I've had to decide, okay, what is of most profit to me this year? I want to spend time with my family, as much be home for my family more. And so if I'm going to a conference, it's taking me away from them, then it's got to be a big deal. So mostly it's if I'm teaching at something where I feel like there's something at that conference that's really good for my personal development. And so I don't know. But we have lots of posts in our Facebook group about conferences. So just go and search it and you'll find them. And there's lots of people suggesting conferences over there. Dina wants to know about working on interconnected series like the Regency House Party I did, probably like the Sweetwater that we did. If we have any tips to help keep everything straight. Using Google Docs and Google Sheets with everybody that's in your group is really important, that everybody has access, everybody can see and edit, and that way you can keep track of all the important stuff like your setting, the shared characters, the timing, all of those things that you would own and could fudge a little bit if you wanted to, if you're just writing your own thing, is really important that you can share and that everybody can be on the same page. And it's not like constant email and sharing of information. The more you can have available on some form of a Google, what is it called?
Google Doc or a spreadsheet.
Yeah, but the whole thing, Drive, on your Google Drive, that is my biggest tip for that. And I recommend having either a Facebook group page to keep everybody communicating and have meetings through Hangout or Skype or something like that where you guys can really hash things out if there's a smaller group of you. If it's a big group of you, then that might be unwieldy.
And if it's one you're just doing by yourself, I just use a Scrivener document to have each the different notes in there. So.
Okay. I think that might be all we have. That was a long one. Sorry, we talked a lot. Okay. Just can you please stream the sessions after for your international viewers?
Oh, from the conference. We've looked at getting people to record sessions, and it's $100 million. So unless you don't mind someone sitting there with a cell phone, I don't know that we're going to tape anything.
I wonder if
anytime
you could
soon.
do it through StreamYard.
I don't know.
Something to think about. Here's one. If you're a newbie and launched in 2020, would you set up mailing list, Facebook page? Yes. Set up everything.
Yep.
Just get it done. It's a good idea to put a free novella up to see if people like your style and storytelling.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, but only if they have to give you their email to get it.
Yeah.
Use it to build your newsletter.
Exactly.
Yep. Okay. Do we think Twitter is useful? No.
I don't use it.
Sorry, I don't think Twitter is effective unless you already
Well, you have
have
to think about people on Twitter. They're reading like what 150 characters. That's what they're
No, it's
used
more
to.
now.
I don't know if it'll transfer over to reading a giant 50,000 word book. So, and Twitter is about complaining and it's a dumpster fire. And I stay out away from Twitter.
There's
If
a
you
lot of
like
fun.
Twitter, find the fun stuff. But I don't seem to be able to find the fun stuff. I just get the drama. So I'm like, no.
Yeah, people aren't usually on there to buy books.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to look at with every social media. If you just want to connect with your readers, go for it.
Yeah.
But as far as actually selling books, that's not the kind of content that does well on Twitter.
Well, and I
Yeah.
think it also depends on what you write. If you write young adult, you're probably not going to find your readers on Facebook. But if you're going to find people who are moms that read young adult or any older people who have disposable income and time to read, you might want to consider being on platforms that they're on, which would be Facebook right now.
Yes. Twitter can be, she's specifically saying to connect with other authors, bloggers, and stuff like that. You could connect with them on Instagram. You can connect with them on Pinterest. You can connect with them on the social
The
media
Writing
sites
Gals
I
group.
hear teenagers talking about that adults haven't discovered yet. Writing Gals group, like Judy said. Yes, we're the best. We're the best place to connect with authors is our Facebook group.
Actually, our
Um,
conference, if you want to see us face to face.
It's the
But the
best
thing
place
is,
to find authors at our
with-
conference.
I think with most social media, besides Facebook, the best point of them is
That's
just to have
where-
fun. Is have fun
Someone's
on
like, "You need to
social
get on TikTok," and I'm like, if I was on TikTok, people would be like, "Yo, old lady, get off TikTok."
They'd call you. They'd say, "Get the boomers off," because they'd all call us boomers. So, anyways, even though we're not, but whatever.
No, we're not.
Millennial.
I'm a millennial. Am I a
Everything is-
millennial?
Go
I
on,
think
hit
I
us
am.
up.
Yeah,
Let me finish my sentence.
No, we are not gonna let you.
I'm learning
Go
how
on.
to interrupt you right now because I never do it.
Use social media if you have fun with it. The end. That's the end of the
There you
story.
go.
If you don't like it, don't
Best
go on
way,
it.
start a newsletter. That's really the best way to connect with your readers because you can talk to them and you can sell to them.
Yes. But have fun on Twitter if you like Twitter, but don't expect to sell.
Figure it out and then come back and tell us how you did it.
And more author careers have been ruined on Twitter than any other social media platform.
Mm-hmm.
Just telling it like it is. That and Goodreads. So there you go. There's that warning too. Okay. That's all we have for you tonight because we got to shut up at some point. So
We
Good
will
night.
take your questions from the comments and put them in our next Q&A.
I think we got them all.
I think we
did you?
did.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Yeah.
did. That was your rapid fire. I was like, where are you getting these questions?
Yeah. That's where I got it from. So we didn't have to do another Q&A if we didn't want to. So.
But we love these. This is my favorite. So,
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
Good
night, everybody.
night.
Out.
Don't forget to
Bye.
subscribe. Don't forget to click the bell so you get notified when we're on and be back here the first Thursday and third Thursday of every month. Bye.
Bye.